Hey, good morning, everybody. It is 10 a.m. right here on 13 Plus. We're doing another 13 weather impact alert special for you today because we are still being affected by the frigid cold temperatures outside. And I think the lake effect snow, I mean, in my opinion, seems worse today, but we're a little bit removed from the lake shore, so that might not be the case for some folks.
You know, the thing is that this has kind of been a long duration event, especially for those of you out in Holland, out in Allegan County, or like make it stop at this point. But yeah, it was brutal driving home. I know Colton felt driving home last night was his worst conditions he's drove in a while. My morning commute was by far the worst I've had in years coming in.
I live 10 minutes away from the station driving home after we ended our special yesterday. It was like a 45-minute drive for me. I got stuck on Leonard Street for quite some time just because of the traffic and, you know, there are stoplights, but people are going. Exactly. It's just kind of a mess. Another type of a mess this morning as well, if you are out and about. So again, we've got cold temperatures, we've got lake effect snow.
Yeah, and I think the biggest question, I think everyone knows, okay, the cold temperatures are kind of here for a little bit, and we will talk about those when we finally break out. But everyone wants to know, when the heck is the snow going to stop?
When is it? When can we say goodbye to it?
So let's track it. Let's first start with some looks here. Okay.
Is Grandhaven in the room with us?
Fabulous right now. Seeing a whole lot of nothing to start things off with our beach camera. This is kind of what it looks like when the semis pass you on the expressway right now, because that snow is so dusty, so fine. Live look over Walker yesterday. This is where one of our big pileups happened on the expressway. Negative 14 degrees is our wind chill value there, and it really just looks like a very tundra, Arctic-like feel outside. These are our cameras across Holland. We typically use these around tulip time. Oh, dreaming of the tulips to be popping up right now.
I want that so bad.
I could use a little extra color that's not white on the ground. The snowfall has been quite a lot recently, especially for our lakeshore counties. MDOT cameras, these come and go. It looked a lot better a second ago when I pulled them up, but we will continue to track those MDOT cameras as they pop on and off. This is our satellite and radar. Now, our bands have shifted a little bit to the north and west this morning, and that will continue to be the case into the afternoon hours. Lakeshore boundary, you will consistently see snowfall, and then notice what we call a little convergence zone happening right now, just to the north of Kalamazoo, and then this band extending all the way through the Lansing region. We will continue to see some of these bands pushing in and through southern Kent County, and then extending through southern Allegan County over into Berry County, northern Kalamazoo County. The good news for all of our areas along and to the east of US 131 is that we are seeing a lot of improvements in terms of how much snowfall is really making it that far inland. Lakeshore counties, though, not seeing much improvement whatsoever, and our northern lakeshore counties that have kind of been left out of the brunt of this round of lake effect snow, you have more on deck. Hour by hour forecast here continues to feature chances for snowfall now until 5, 6 o'clock tonight. Once we hit 6 o'clock, inland areas will be mainly dry and quiet. And then lakeshore counties still experiencing a little bit of light snowfall. It all kind of tailors back tonight, which is why Colton will talk about they'll have our coldest temperatures expected at that time, because we are starting to see cloud coverage likely breaking apart, lake effect snow bands falling apart. And when that happens, we tend to get a little bit colder outside. But that's not all the snowfall. We actually have a quick clipper system that's rolling through as we head into early tomorrow afternoon. I would say at 10 a.m. until around 3 p.m. That's going to be enhanced by additional southwesterly lake effect snow. So it just keeps coming.
Does it end?
It keeps coming.
Does it end?
It ends Thursday early afternoon. That's when it ends. And snowfall totals, they're a lot. We'll talk about them in just a little. I don't want to go there with snowfall totals just yet.
Do you know who I think brought all the snow with us? Is Colton, because I think before he got to the station, we had like no snow like this. And all of a sudden, Colton gets here to WZZM, and we have like 5 alert days in a row, Colton.
Oopsie. Okay, Colton, I won't let him blame me. We also got into like January and February. Well, we're not in February yet, but we got into late December, January.
Season.
It's not all your fault.
I won't. I mean, I'd rather have like an actual winter though, because last winter we like didn't even have one at all.
That's so true.
It does feel like Michigan winter.
It's nice to have Michigan winter back. I know all of our ice fishermen and all those things, they're excited to be back. Recreational sports and stuff like that. They're having a season, and a lot of that season has to do with these temperatures. You want to talk about them?
Yeah, the temperatures right now definitely are very cold across the region. We're sitting in the single digits across much of West Michigan. 4 degrees right now in Muskegon, 2 in Grand Rapids, and -1 degree in Big Rapids. But thankfully they're seeing some sunshine, so if you are seeing some sun, you're actually colder though. It kind of doesn't make sense, but when you have the clouds, it actually does insulate you and keep you a little bit warmer than other areas. Speaking of cold, on the other side of Lake Michigan where it is clear, International Falls is at -24. That's the actual air temperature, so they're much colder than that, at least what they're feeling like. But you can notice in North Dakota, warmer air is starting to move in, so there's some hope in the future that we will actually start to warm up. So that's some good news, but it definitely feels cold. Chicago is feeling like -29 degrees.
Ooh, it could be worse.
Yeah, it could be. And we're feeling like -14 in Grand Rapids, but along I-94, because what usually happens is the cold air wraps below Lake Michigan and starts to head north along I-94 away from those lake effect clouds. So you're sitting at -14 in Three Rivers and -22 in Kalamazoo. Feels like temperatures though here in Grand Rapids generally staying well below zero, still feeling like -13 to -14 for the rest of the day, with that lake effect snow continuing through at least about 4 p.m. or so. And this is something new that the National Weather Service is doing this winter. We are in a cold weather advisory still through noon tomorrow, so about 24 more hours of this really frigid temperatures with feels like down to -15. This is what the explainers are for those. This was replaced with the wind chill advisory. It's now the cold weather advisory for feels like temperatures below -15, and the coldest air probably arrives tonight into tomorrow, like Sam said, as that lake effect kind of dwindles down throughout the rest of the evening. But you can see wind chill values very cold this evening, still -22 in Kalamazoo by 8 p.m. And by the time we get to the morning commute tomorrow, I'm once again expecting widespread school closures, especially away from Lake Michigan.
I know.
No.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense. You know, we are going to see those school closures, right?
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
We're going to see some more.
Absolutely, especially
I'm
away
sure.
from the lake. Well, the areas that don't have the frigid cold
Yes.
temperatures, those are the areas that are still going to be seeing lake effect snow.
Yeah, so they'll close regardless.
Regardless, we're going to see closures. Thank you for that, Colton.
Yeah, Colton, thank you. Can we pop up the Grand Haven camera one more time?
What, just to crush everyone?
Just to like show what's going on.
Oh, lovely. Look
Guys,
at this.
that's what we're dealing with. And I want to talk about what I'm hearing, the difference in between yesterday and today, is that today it seems like the lake effect snow is more east into the lakeshore. So, you know, we're now seeing it in Grand Rapids.
Yes, absolutely.
More thick or heavy.
Yeah,
you know?
and that definitely settled in yesterday afternoon. We probably are going to see that pull back again this afternoon. So by the time we hit 3, 5 o'clock, we see that kind of retreat back towards the lakeshore itself. But this has probably been one of the worst events, I would say, so far this winter season, when you combine the fact that it's been a struggle to keep the roads clear with the blowing and drifting snow, and then the temperature is not helping whatsoever. Let's talk snowfall totals, though. I know this is what everyone wants to see. So this is between now and 5 o'clock. We've got another 1 to 2 inches of lake effect snow falling in those traditional bands. Then as we continue on from 5 p.m., Colton, can you advance for me? I don't think my remote's connected here.
Oh, darn it.
I know, right? Live TV, let's see. There we go. By the time we hit 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, we're now talking 2 to 3 inches of additional lake effect snow. So 1 inch or 2 during the overnight hours. Here's where things get interesting. We'll be quiet to start Wednesday morning, but starting around noon, continuing on until, let's say, 3 o'clock, we have a batch of system snow that rolls through. That adds an additional 1 to 3 inches of snowfall. Let it roll, Colton. Because then the lake effect snow, this is now a southwesterly lake effect belt. We haven't seen that quite as much this winter as our northwesterly belts or our westerly belts. When we get southwesterly winds, think of it in reverse. Usually we see northwesterly winds pile up in Ottawa County and in Allegan County. This time around, we're going to flip the script. We're going to put it through Muskegon, Oceana, and Mason County, our northern counties, and our director, Rory from Muskegon's rolling his eyes at me like, really, girl? You had to do that. We're going to see that area experience somewhere between an additional 2 to 4 inches of lake-enhanced snow, if not higher, headed into early Thursday morning. That puts those snowfall totals pretty close to double digits up there in Ludington. Now, those aren't perfect measurements by any means, any stretch of the imagination. We don't think these are going to be the exact totals we all see, but they give you a roundabout idea of who's going to get that bullseye.
I have a question for you. When this is all said and done, you know, when we have our whatever day this started, like Sunday evening, right, stretching through this week, how much snow what do you think our highest snowfall total for the week will be?
Oh, that's a really good question. I would imagine that it's going to fall somewhere in Ottawa County because they'll still get, northern Ottawa County will still get clipped by those southwesterly belts as well. We haven't had a ton of snowfall totals come in. I know as of this morning, some of our highest totals were sitting around 6 inches. So you add another 4 to 6 inches to that.
Yikes.
And yeah, we're definitely going to be in the double digits in some spots from storm totals. The good news is that, yeah, that's a long period of time that this is all played out, and it's a thin snow. It's easy to shovel. It's easy, in a sense, to plow up, right?
Yeah.
It's not sticking to your wheels and making you spin around that way, but it's blowing, and that makes it really tricky to drive.
The visibility can be bad. So speaking of visibility, we do have the weather chaser rolling for us this morning, and I'm actually just getting word that Erin Sullivan, who was in the weather chaser yesterday for us, she's actually been in the weather chaser all week for us.
I know, she moved in.
You and Doug are such troopers, Erin. We're going to get out to you right now. What are you seeing right now on the roads, and where are you?
Good morning, guys. Yeah, let's just start by saying it is so pretty outside right now. The roads are awful, but it is gorgeous outside. Take a look in front of me. We're on westbound 196. Well, look, guys, it's like we're in a snow globe. But if you also take a look at the roads, you can see it's almost, the ice is like reflecting on that sunshine right now that we're seeing. So it's not great for driving, but very pretty visually. Doug here is the one panicking behind the wheel, and I'm taking pictures of the snow because, like I said, beautiful. But yeah, definitely take it slow today. We are going about a little less than 40 miles per hour right now. Just traveling at a smooth pace, not passing anyone, just kind of letting people pass us and taking it slow.
We should mention, Erin, you say you're at a snail's pace. It looks so much faster when we're looking at this just because of how the camera is and how it captures images.
I also love to see when you look at the image itself, notice how some areas are darker in terms of the cloud coverage and where the lake effect snow, and then you get those breaks in the sunshine. You always kind of want to hope that your house falls right in the break, right between lake effect snow bands.
A nice little ray of sunshine amidst the cold, frozen tundra that is West Michigan right now.
But Erin, you know what we call you, and I am this too anytime I'm in the car with my husband, is a passenger princess. Sitting exactly where you should be.
Oh yeah.
Helping
I
out
would
with
even argue
directions.
I would argue I'm the passenger queen. In charge of the music here. No, I'm just kidding, you guys. Sam, you said earlier that the camera really picks up on, or it makes it look like we're going pretty fast. I'll also say that it doesn't make the conditions look that bad on camera. I will say in person, visibility is worse. So it is pretty clear right now, but let's say in like 10 minutes, visibility is pretty bad for us on camera. It might look great. So it's definitely, it's quite the deceiving little device, this camera we have here.
Yeah, and we're seeing that guy pass you there. It does look like he's going pretty fast, but not as fast as the people we were seeing yesterday. So I would say he's probably passing at a safe speed.
No.
But yeah, so how fast, just out of curiosity, Erin, are you guys going?
40 miles an hour right now.
So 30 miles below the speed
limit. Not too crazy, I would argue.
Yeah,
I would argue we're taking it pretty slow.
That's great though, and you're not seeing very many people on the roads with you, which is great news, because yesterday, I mean, it was ridiculous. A half-hour drive is what it typically takes me to get home, and I was starting to push 2 hours just because of the number of accidents that were piled up along the expressway.
And you already have quite the hike to get home.
Yeah, right. I don't need it to be longer than a half hour, ever. All right, well, good stuff, Erin. Thank you so much.
For sure.
Stay safe out there. Tell Doug he's a trooper as well.
Guys.
Yeah, we'll check in with you guys here in just a little bit. So, you know, we had that pileup while we were here on 13 Plus yesterday.
Yes.
When we were seeing hazardous road conditions and actually, frankly, whiteout conditions. This is a live look at that area right now, obviously free and clear moving. But this morning we are hearing from a woman involved in the pileup on I-96 near Alpine yesterday. By the way, it did involve like 20 cars. So the highway was closed for about 2 hours. This is some pictures from Ashley Christopher saying her car was damaged in the crash. We just spoke to her about what happened. And of course, I would imagine that she's pretty shaken up after all of this. I mean, we were shaken up just looking at the images we were seeing yesterday.
And so worried of the news that would come along with it, because the pictures we were seeing, the amount of emergency crews on scene, but there were no fatals in it, which was really good news.
Miraculously, no fatals in that 20-car pileup. Again, we're talking like 3 semis involved in that, a couple, more than a dozen vehicles, like passenger cars, in this accident. And we were watching as first responders were getting people loaded into the ambulances and going, tow trucks were towing some of the box trucks and semis that had made it into the ditch there. We were watching it all happen. And first of all, hats off to those first responders.
Yes.
And so glad to hear of no injuries, or no serious injuries, we should say, in that situation. Something we do want to touch base on is a crash earlier this morning that happened on Highway 131 southbound. This was the scene earlier around 7 a.m. where southbound 131 basically looked like a parking lot going through downtown. We can now confirm, unfortunately, one person was found dead after that crash. This happened in the Pearl Street area. We're now being told by Michigan State Police that the driver of the car that caused the crash had a medical emergency, and that's what kind of chain reacted things here. The traffic was backed up, of course, during the commute. If we have a live look at 131 now, I do believe it is clear. But yeah, just to let you guys know, we have learned, unfortunately, that there is somebody dead in that crash. Not caused by the crash, it's sounding like, but unfortunately a medical emergency that kind of chain reacted everything here.
And in conditions like this, I mean, it takes such a small thing, such a small movement to really cause an accident to happen, just a simple.
And this is live right now on 131.
Okay, so it's looking a little bit better. Notice that you do see lanes, right? We do see that there are lanes to drive down, but the biggest thing is the blowing and drifting snow. And as Aaron mentioned, it doesn't get picked up super well in our camera. It is right now. That's actually what it would look like on your windshield when you're driving. And part of that is because this is such a fine, fragmented snow. Anytime our temperatures get really cold outside, it actually causes that lake effect snow to become even dustier, like in texture.
Dustier is a good word for
Yeah,
it.
it's definitely dusty. Like your windshield wipers could wipe 6 inches of this off your car in a matter of seconds, because that's just how light the snow is. Unfortunately, it only takes a 10-mile-per-hour wind gust to blow it around, and it only takes a 30-mile-per-hour vehicle to kick it all up off of the roads themselves and push it right into your windshield as they're passing you.
I think the thing to take away from that is we were just watching all of those cars, maybe a dozen cars in our view going on 131 there. People are taking it slow for the most part. So, maybe they were watching us or someone else this morning heeding the warning of take it slow on the roads. This is not the day to be doing 70 through downtown GR or, whatever the speed limit is on the S curve.
And that's where we saw our back-to-bed forecasts come into play this morning. I was so happy to see the number of school closures. I know it's not easy on parents, grandparents, and loved ones taking care of those kids to have snow days happen, but we don't want the buses out in this. We don't want the kids out walking in this.
It even scares me to see the semi-trucks out in this.
Absolutely.
I'm sure that they're trained for this, and I'm sure they know how to do their job in this type of a weather situation, but it makes me nervous, you know, it does, especially when you have 3, sometimes 4 lanes of traffic on that freeway.
Yeah, Colton, what are your thoughts on snow days tomorrow for the kids? Do we think that we're going to continue to see some back-to-bed forecasts here?
I would think so, just not only because of the lake effect snow across the region, but also just the cold, because usually I think around like -15, -20, most of those schools start to close, at least when it feels that cold. And I mean, tomorrow, especially near I-94, it could feel like -25. So
well, you have the walkers, right? You have people walking to school. You have all sorts of.
We can't forget about that.
Yeah, and if you do have to go to school tomorrow and you unfortunately walk to school, you're going to want to cover up as much of exposed skin as possible. So what are some of the tips that you can do? Like if you are outside, if you have to walk somewhere, maybe to work or school, we should be layering up, right?
Yeah, you should be layering up, and they say 15 to 30 minutes in conditions like this, closer to 30 minutes. But what's really happening here is when your skin is exposed, right, and that cold wind, the cold air hits it, it reacts differently than what the actual temperature is outside.
Right.
And so that's why a lot of people think that wind chill comes into play with having wet skin. Your skin does not have to be wet for wind chill value. It is just strictly your dry skin outside, what that feels like up against it. So covering your exposed skin is going to be number one there, keeping your body heat trapped, and then limiting your time spent outside.
Well, and that's what causes your wind chill right there, right?
Right there, yeah, look at that. The flag once again whipping today in Muskegon. I mean, you can see off in the distance what looks like just kind of a plume of clouds, but that's snowfall coming down. It's just so fine in texture that it just looks different. These are not our big wet snowflakes at this time by any means.
Well, so Colton, obviously you're from Muskegon area, Fruitport, that region. We would probably expect many school closings tomorrow from that region, just given the amount of lake effect snow and the Clipper system snow that we're expecting, as well as the continued bitter cold up there. You know, we can't make that determination for the school districts, by the way. That is not our call. You need to check in with your school individually.
We can advise. Us
we
meteorologists can advise you.
But we cannot make that call.
Yeah.
So we would probably, though, expect to see some closings at least up that way.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
and mainly because of that snow.
Yeah, and I honestly would think that a lot of the schools will probably close tonight for tomorrow, just to give, you know, parents those extra time to
allow those kids to
prepare
make
and
plans
stuff.
with their friends. You're
Yep,
like,
that's
hey.
what I did back in the day. And found out the
Absolutely.
evening before.
Yes,
the best.
safe, close friends. So close by friends, you don't have to travel too far. Colton, can you show us some of the temperatures, what it would look like for our school commute forecast come early
that's
tomorrow
a
morning?
good idea.
I know if you look forecast, if you search forecast, it will pop up. Anyway, you know that.
So if we take max 2, this is what it would feel like possibly tomorrow morning as the kiddos are heading to school. If they do have school, which I don't think they will, it will be a little bit warmer near Muskegon and points to the north as that Clipper starts to move through and we get that southwest wind off of the lake. So it'll be a little bit warmer over there, but overall I think honestly a lot of schools will be closing just because when wind chills get this cold, about -20 to -25 even, especially near I-94 and well into the eastern portion of Michigan as well. I think a lot of schools will be closing tomorrow just because of the bitterly cold temperatures, but also the poor visibility that will likely continue tomorrow morning, especially north of Muskegon, and just the slippery roads that honestly probably won't be much better because it's so cold and the salt really doesn't do anything when it's this cold.
Exactly. And then you might be thinking to yourself, okay, but yeah, you're talking about Muskegon, Colton, but look, they're only -4. Now, the reason that Muskegon is sitting at that slightly warmer temperature is because while everybody else is getting the breaks in the clouds and little pockets of stars coming through at night, they're going to be seeing their next round of snowfall. So if we are able to switch on over to max 1, I'll track our snow system here for you. Hour by hour forecast shows tonight's lake effect snow tailors way back. It kind of starts to move closer to the US 31 corridor and then over the lakeshore itself as our winds start to pivot from northwest to west to eventually southwest during the overnight hours. That southwesterly wind is actually what's going to set us up for a very brief calm period until our next Clipper system rolls through, re-stirs up the ingredients needed in the atmosphere for this lake effect snow to arrive, and then as our system snow arrives, as we hit around noon to 1 o'clock, it's going to impact Muskegon County, Oceana County, Newaygo County, Mason County, and clip northern Ottawa County along with it. But again, as mentioned, the ingredients are starting to set up just right in this case scenario post-Clipper system to then see that lake effect snow start to drive in behind it. This is only going to increase the amount of snowfall that ends up being on the ground as we head into Wednesday evening. Clipper system departs, there's our lake effect snow. We once again see our winds pivot to out of the north and west as we head into early Thursday morning, and that could potentially lead to additional lake effect snow in Ottawa and Allegan County. So that's why once again I say when Tanner asked who's going to get the highest snowfall totals, that's going to be where it's at. Today we still have a remaining, I would say about 2 to 4 inches of snowfall that will come down from lake effect. A vast majority of that snow is going to be concentrated west of US 131 and even it could be argued closer to the US 31 corridor than anything else. Here comes that Clipper system, 5 inches Fremont by the time we hit 6 p.m. tomorrow evening. Again, that's including today's snowfall and the Clipper system. Then we start to enhance that even further as the winds start to pivot, giving them a couple more inches of lake effect snow. Winds start to drive out of the north and west, ending the snowfall for the northwest zone and potentially pushing it right back down towards Ottawa and Allegan County. At least we're seeing some little periods of relief snuck in there in between each system for
Relief
certain
is always
counties.
good.
Yeah, a little bit of relief is always good. And what we could really use relief from are these cold temperatures. I want to show you guys feels like conditions across the United States right now. These are super impressive. We're talking. Okay, I gotta like open up my eyes big so that I don't mess up these numbers.
Rhinelander, Wisconsin is what stuck out to me.
Yes, -46. What is that?
What does that
What
even
is that?
feel like?
We don't know. I have no idea. Truly, I
Or-
don't know what I would tell
Is that
viewers.
Geraldton, Canada?
Oh, well, do I know how to pronounce it? No, but I do see what you're looking at.
Yeah.
-47. So this is why I'm grateful that our winds are pivoting to the southwest, because when our winds shift to the southwest, the direction in which our air mass is coming from also changes, which means while this isn't great, we're going to get the air coming from the -20s rather than the -40s, which I will argue is better and is an improvement in terms of the forecast, which is why tomorrow afternoon we will be back in the teens for our actual readings. Sub-zero feels like conditions.
Let me ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
So you keep the temperature map up there.
Okay.
I mean, you've got -38 in Fargo, -10 in Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
You've got -7 in Pittsburgh. Again, we're talking about feels like temps, right?
Right.
And we even have, we do break into double digits once we get over to DC, and then single digits in Richmond, Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at a map here that I don't think happens very often, right? Temperature-wise. Why did it happen like this, and what was the setup?
The famous words of the polar vortex.
Oh, it's
Tanner.
polar vortex.
The famous words.
I've heard that.
So the polar vortex always exists, right? The polar
Okay.
vortex is always there. It's just, it fluctuates, right? It kind of moves like this. And want to do this with me? So this is how the polar vortex moves all around the Arctic.
kinda like my
it kind
brain.
of swerves. Sure.
Sometimes.
And this is how we go in and out of our shows in the morning. Sometimes we're really there, sometimes we're not. Sometimes that cold air or that pattern can oscillate really low.
Okay.
And when that happens, it pulls that Arctic air down with it, pulls the cold Canadian air that always kind of sits there into the continental United States. That pattern doesn't happen very often. There's really specific setups that have to come along to make it happen. Typically, though, when we do get in this time of the winter season, especially with the climate patterns that we were expecting to set up this winter season, it causes that cold air to dip down. And Colton, I feel like we have a map of the upper levels and showing that cold air mass dipping down. Do you know where that map is? Yeah, if you look, if you type in the European model, that map will pop up, and then we can show them kind of where that cold bubble sits right now, and we'll see that, be able to watch it as it moves across.
While he's pulling that up, do you remember a few years ago when we had, frigid conditions like this down toward Florida, in places like Houston, Texas,
Yeah.
bizarre places that don't normally see.
And there's snowstorms
Yeah.
right now in Texas.
I actually have it on Max 2 if we take
Oh, the
Max 2.
snowstorm
Oh, okay.
down there? Yeah, let's look at it.
let's look
Pull
at
that
that.
up.
Actually snowing
Woo!
on the Gulf Coast in Louisiana.
That's
Wow.
insane.
Yeah.
Think about, they just had that big football bowl there not too long ago. I
Right.
can't remember. I'm sure I'm not saying that right. That's not how you say. They had
Was it the
something
Sugar
else
Bowl?
there too.
Well, the Super Bowl is happening soon.
Yeah, they have the Super.
Sorry, Lions
Is that what I'm
fans.
thinking of? Is the Super
No,
Bowl?
but there was a part of the national championship, the college playoffs, a few weeks ago.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
gonna blame this on pregnancy brain there. But imagine if this was happening.
And look
during
at
that.
this, a blizzard warning on the
Oh
Gulf
my
Coast.
gosh.
Warning on the Gulf Coast.
That's the first time
Wow.
that has ever happened.
Wow.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay. So my question is is this kind of like the same setup that we had a few years ago? We've been through something like this, where we were seeing winter weather conditions south of, Indiana, Tennessee, Kentucky.
Yeah,
but-
well, Tanner, what you're looking for in a hardy, true winter storm, not lake effect snow, right? We see lake effect snow, it's very different than what they're experiencing, is a contrast in temperatures. It's the same way that severe weather sets up. You want that warm, moist air butting up against that cold Arctic air. If the cold air overcomes
Wait, hold on.
it.
You're saying we want?
Well,
we don't want
we
that.
don't want it. Yeah.
But that's how it
In
works.
the meteorology world, we might every once in a while want that. to happen. And when those cold air masses and the warm air mass, they start this battle, right, at each other, and that builds these clouds and builds these clouds, builds them full of moisture. And then this is, I'm sure, heavy, wet, dense snow that's coming down. Not the easy stuff to brush off your car. And then not to mention, they have no idea how to deal with snow like
we
this.
have a station in Houston, KHOU, and they've been reporting on the snow that has been happening there, which again, you know, Texas infrastructure is not built. I'm just going to say it. It's not built like how we have it up here, right? You know, we have our road commissions are very well trained on some of this. I would bet that Houston, weather-wise, is crippled as a city right now.
I would imagine so. Colton, tell me more about what you're pointing to with the fancy yellow arrow.
Yeah. So this little orange area, which includes Lake Charles, that's actually the blizzard warning in this little orange section here. So along with the snow, you're seeing really strong winds because a blizzard is not just, oh, it's a lot of snow.
Right.
It's, you need the winds and the poor visibility. And I mean, this is the first time a blizzard warning has ever been issued on the Gulf Coast. So that's pretty impressive if this cold is really making a blizzard.
And you're really saying this is the first time that this has happened.
Wow. In history.
So what do you think it's like for those folks down there?
Awful.
Yeah, awful.
I mean, that's really the only way you can describe it because they don't have one, as you mentioned, the infrastructure at play. They don't have the plow trucks down there.
Right.
They don't have the salt. They don't have the crews, the people like Michelle Robinson down there ready to help people out in these cases. I mean, of course they do, but they're not used to this type of weather.
Yeah, we're talking about Lieutenant Michelle Robinson, who is joining us live via Zoom right now. Lieutenant Robinson, good morning. How are you? Good morning, Lieutenant Robinson. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, good to see you this morning. So let's chat about just what we're seeing out there on the roads here a little bit closer to home in West Michigan. What are your troopers reporting this morning on the roads out there?
Well, good morning, Sam and Tanner. Thanks for having me. It is still very slippery outside. And you'll probably have already talked to the Road Commission and MDOT, where you know the combination of both sand and salt is making it very difficult with these cold temperatures to really have that work as well as it normally does. So we are still seeing a lot of slippery conditions and whiteout conditions because the snow is so fluffy. And you can be traveling along and all of a sudden the winds pick up and you have complete whiteout conditions.
Yeah, that's got to be scary. Something that you and I were discussing, Lieutenant Robinson, before we got on here a few hours ago, was there are a lot of people out there with no lights on their cars. And this is something actually that we've heard about quite often over the last couple of days. Can you just describe what drivers should be doing if they're getting out there? I know it's daytime and, you know, it seems silly to have our lights on, but how does that help in visibility purposes, like with the whiteout conditions that some are seeing across our region today?
Right. When you're traveling out there on the roadways, it's very difficult to see you when the snow picks up and you have these whiteout conditions. And a lot of times what people don't realize is some vehicle manufacturers, even though you have your daytime running lights on, that doesn't include your tail lights. I know that you had a caller this morning that, or someone that wrote in that said to remind motorists of that, but a lot of motorists don't realize that their vehicle is like that. So even though you have your daytime running lights on, it's not engaging the lights in the rear of your vehicle. So what we recommend is anytime you get in your vehicle, if you don't know whether that works or not on your car, turn your lights all the way on. That way, if you are traveling down the roadway and someone is coming up behind you, they'll see you sooner because they can actually see your tail lights.
And tell us a little bit about what you guys experienced yesterday and then how things are holding up today as well.
Yeah, we're not thrilled with your forecast, Sam, but that's okay.
Yeah, you get her. You get her, Lieutenant Robinson.
Yesterday, as of 9 o'clock this morning, over the last 24 hours, just the troopers out of the Grand Rapids post, they covered 83 crashes, and that's between Ottawa, Muskegon, and Kent counties. That doesn't include the county, local, and or the city and township officers as well. So just our troopers handled 83. We did have to bring in extra personnel to cover those crashes. And so it's the one thing that we cannot reiterate enough is, one, slow your vehicles down and allow what we call a reactionary gap between you and the vehicle in front of you. And what that means is, if that vehicle loses control, you have enough room between you and that vehicle so that you can do some kind of evasive maneuver, whether it be changing lanes, slowing down in time, so that you can create that gap, have that safety distance as you're traveling down the roadways. And that really, really helps when we see these multi-vehicle pileups. It's that they're going way too fast for the conditions, and they're not leaving enough room between them and the vehicle in front of them.
So, Lieutenant Robinson, you can't see what we're seeing, but we're taking a look at some of our sky cameras across the region. We were just looking at, I believe, what was the Ford was 131 in Bridge Street, where we were seeing, in some cases, blowing snow, creating those whiteout conditions that you described. What we're also seeing is a lot of snow on the roadways, Lieutenant Robinson. What do you recommend to folks who are driving do when they encounter snow on the road, which likely probably does have a thin layer of ice under it too?
Well, first and foremost, it begins before you even leave your driveway. We oftentimes see vehicles that they don't have the snow cleared off the top of it, or they're trying to operate off this little defrosted portion of their windshield, and that creates incredibly dangerous driving habits. And so what we recommend, or what we encourage drivers, and it is against the law to have that blowing snow off your vehicle, make sure you clean your vehicles off, get all that snow off it, leave a little early so that you can have the defrost on and have a clear windshield. When you start going out on the roadways, if you safely can, apply your brakes when you're just pulling out of your driveway, just to kind of test the road conditions and see, what the packing is underneath when you first begin. As you're traveling down the roadway, it's kind of like the joke here in Michigan that, hold on because the weather will change in the next 5 minutes. The same thing can be said for the roadways. You can be traveling along and you feel like it's perfectly clear, and then all of a sudden you'll have whiteout conditions where your visibility goes to zero. And so what happens during that time is that you are not, you're not aware as acutely as you would be in a clear situation of what hazards and what maybe disabled vehicles are ahead of you in your travels. So if you slow your speeds down, make sure that you have that space so that you can see what's coming up ahead and you don't find yourself into a bad situation.
I want to ask you, you guys dealt with a number of wrecks yesterday, you said. You also said that 2 of these wrecks involved state police vehicles. And so my next question pertains to first responders out there on the road. Unfortunately, I'm sure you heard we also had a fire engine down with Comstock Fire Department that was hit while they were responding to an accident on I-94. In any case, what do you recommend to drivers out there when they see an accident scene? I'm sure likely people are rolling by them quite frequently today. So what would be your recommendation for those folks out on the roads?
Once again, slow down. Watching that video of the fire truck that was struck, it's our first responders are working very, very hard out there. And so we ask that move over. There is the law, the move over law. This isn't anything new. But this also includes your tow truck drivers and those disabled vehicles that are on the side of the road. Even if it's a regular passenger vehicle, give them the respect and go over to a lane if you safely can, so that they have that room. Tow truck drivers need to have that extra room to pull vehicles out of the ditch when they go in the ditch. And our law enforcement, our fire, our MDOT workers, and road commission workers, give them the room they need. We also have you have to be a certain distance from snow plows. Don't crowd the plows. They're trying to keep your travel safe, and give them the respect on the roadways that they need in order to do their jobs so that you can get to your destination safely.
Absolutely. I hope everyone's soaking in everything that you're saying right now, because it's all such good information.
I want to get what she's saying and put it in bullet points on our website.
We're going
so
to make
people
signs
can refer
of
back
it.
to
I love this. Okay, I just have to know, what does a day look like for you guys in situations like this? Like, you hear my forecast the night before, and what's going through your head of what you're going to have to deal with the next day?
Well, it's oh boy. This this isn't anything. I mean, we're in Michigan. If you've spent any time in Michigan, you're used to these kinds of conditions. And you know, we have crashes even when it's 70 degrees and sunny outside. But it's the difficulties that the troopers on the roadway have to deal with, and all law enforcement, all first responders, of, you know, our ultimate goal is we want to keep everybody safe out there. We never have to want to knock on anyone's door and deliver the absolute worst case scenario news to them.
Yeah.
That is one of the most difficult things that we have to do in policing. And so on a day-to-day thing, what the troopers will be doing is driving up and down the roadways, checking on those disabled vehicles, making sure that there's nobody inside of it, because especially with these extremely cold temperatures, it only takes a matter of a few minutes before someone can get hypothermia. And the other really important thing that we want to stress too is if you do find yourself going off the roadway into the ditch, we ask that, one, you stay in your vehicle, but first and foremost, if you can safely get out, to make sure that your tailpipe isn't stuffed with snow, because now we're creating a carbon monoxide situation. And so if you can make sure that your tailpipe isn't plugged up with snow, stay in your vehicle. If you have a red cloth or a red rag, put that outside your window, because that will let people know, hey, we need help. If we start getting to a situation where there's multiple vehicles that have slid off the roadway, troopers will then tie a safety tape. It's a bright yellow tape. They'll tie that on the car. And what that means is that that vehicle has already been checked, and we don't need to have you call that in again.
Lieutenant Robinson, before we let you go, I have one more question for you. You know, I had asked you to provide some details about the earlier crash from this morning on 131, I believe near Pearl Street. This was on the southbound lanes in the early morning hours of our commute. What's the latest that you're hearing on that?
The latest on that is still, we're believing that the driver did suffer some medical type of emergency which caused the crash. That still remains under investigation, and it will take some time to get that determination on that. But, you know, our thoughts go out to those families that are involved in that. It's never something that we want to see out on the roadways. And that's one of the main reasons we're out there, is to make sure that the motorists stay safe on our roadways and they get to their destinations where they need to be.
All right, Lieutenant Michelle Robinson with Michigan State Police. Always a pleasure to talk to you, my friend.
Such a pleasure. And you know
Thank
what?
you
doing things like this, taking the time out of your day to join us, are saving lives just in giving people this little bit of extra information. So thank you for everything that you do, both on the scene and virtually for us.
Yeah, Michelle, thank you so much. We'll get to Colton here in just a second, but I do want to let everybody know we're getting some new interviews into our newsroom right now. Remember that 96 pileup we had yesterday? We were talking at the top of the hour. Ashley Christopher, she has these pictures that she sent to us. Her car was damaged in the crash. We just spoke with her. Listen to what she has to say.
People are going to suffer from your decision of speeding and feeling like you need to get somewhere instead of taking your time. And I ended up in a situation that was my biggest fear my whole life. You know, I'm between two semis, and it could have been a lot worse, and I could have not walked away from that. So just keeping your hazards on and going a pace and understanding that you're not in a rush and you don't have to hurry because people behind you are hurrying. Just take your time and remember that you never know what's in front of you and you never know what's going to happen behind you.
She's absolutely right. So she was traveling into Grand Rapids from Muskegon. She saw that FedEx truck that we saw in that tower camera shot yesterday. You know, it went in front of her, it went into a ditch, and she braked, and that's when she said she was hit from a semi from the back. But she is okay. She was not hurt. Again, non-life-threatening injuries in that situation. It's scary, though.
So scary, and it just happens in a matter of seconds. And she did exactly what she had to do. She had to brake. And that's why you want to keep those really healthy distances between you and another car, because that could have potentially prevented her from getting rear-ended had, you never know, right? You don't know. It's icy, it's slick. We're just grateful that she is safe and okay. And accidents are something that lasts with you. I totaled my car here in West Michigan, my very first year here at WZZM. There was an inch of snow on the ground, and it was one of those situations of...
It takes your breath away when you hear stories like that, it just makes you like...
And all that happened was I went to swerve a little because I felt like I needed to, and then I just kept spinning.
Yeah.
From that point forward, I tell myself every time I get in the car, it's okay to be 5 minutes later, because you don't want to have to
100%.
be much later than that just because you needed to go a little faster, you need to get around someone, whatever the situation is. Take it slow, take it safe. These are very bad road conditions that we're contending with out there.
Let's check in with our friend Colton Woods. He's been standing by, I know, very patiently.
Yeah,
with,
you have been. And you've been clicking away. I feel like he's got something good for us over there.
He's been working over there.
For the noon, and also, yeah.
There we go.
Oh, yeah, he's going to be on the noon.
Always working.
So he's pulling double duty with us, right? So you're here, and then you're going to be on noon, right?
Yeah.
All right, Colton, deliver the bad news.
All right, here's the full forecast. It's cold and snowy still across the region, and that will not be changing anytime soon. Your 13 weather ball is blue. We do have cooler temperatures in view. It's also blinking bright. We do have that snow still in sight, even though tonight it will lessen up at least a little bit temporarily. Winter weather advisories continue for everyone through 1 a.m., even though that will likely be extended for Muskegon and probably points to the north, as we likely have a clipper system moving through later today. But we do have our own 13 weather impact alert that runs through Wednesday for the bitterly cold temperatures. Sub-zero wind chill still continuing through Wednesday afternoon and evening with lake effect snow as well. So you'll definitely need some extra time heading outdoors. Live look in Grand Rapids, slow moving conditions on the highway right now. Temperature of only 2 degrees. Our high temperature probably only going to be around 4 degrees today, with visibility around 3 miles right now, wind chill of only -14, so very cold conditions out there. Live look in Muskegon, similar conditions, 3 degrees is your temperature right now, feeling more like -14 when you factor a westerly wind coming out of 13 miles per hour, with visibility down to 3/4 of a mile. I want to turn to our attention real quick to what's going on along the Gulf Coast. There's a blizzard warning. Yeah, you heard that right. A blizzard warning along the Gulf Coast and near Lake Charles, Louisiana. Winter storm warnings all from Texas to Florida as well, as they can actually expect several inches of snow down near the Gulf Coast. That just shows how impressively cold this air mass is. That cold air is likely still continuing our lake effect flurries and snow showers along the lakeshore. You can see the heaviest extending from Muskegon through Ottawa County toward Allegan County as well. We're getting at least somewhat of a break here in Grand Rapids, and that will likely continue into this evening. The snow will lessen in intensity here in Grand Rapids before it strengthens again later tomorrow, especially north of Muskegon. Timing that out hour by hour, this is the evening commute. Still along the lakeshore, some moderate to even occasionally heavy lake effect snow will continue. It will likely lessen up at least a little bit temporarily here in Grand Rapids. And then overnight, we'll get at least a little bit of a break of the lake effect snow. I don't think it will completely shut off like this model is showing, but when the winds go out of the south, you'll likely have some flurries still hugging the lakeshore from Holland points to the north through Wednesday morning. And then a clipper system moves through tomorrow, which will definitely make the heavier snow move through. And with a southwest wind, that really enhances the snow from Holland and especially north of Muskegon. So Muskegon, Oceana, and also into Mason counties will likely see several inches of snow throughout the day tomorrow, especially in the afternoon and evening hours as this clipper system continues to move through. So how much snow will we likely see going into tomorrow? This is through this evening. We're not expecting a whole lot, generally around 1 to 2, maybe isolated amounts of 3 inches. This is through Wednesday morning. We're not expecting much more snow tonight into Wednesday morning, but watch this. We'll likely have that clipper system move through with that southwest wind bringing the heaviest snow from Muskegon, points to the north toward Ludington, maybe upwards of 9 to maybe even double-digit snowfall totals by the time we get to Thursday morning's commute. But the big story is the cold, that's for sure. It is 2 degrees right now in Grand Rapids, 3 in Muskegon, 1 in Fremont, even colder on the other side of the lake as they're seeing some clear skies as well. Visibility also a problem across the region with the lake effect snow, especially along the lakeshore counties. less than a mile in Muskegon, 3 miles in Holland, and only 1 mile visibility in South Haven. The winds have lessened at least somewhat compared to yesterday, so that's some good news, but still, the wind is making it feel a lot colder. It feels like -14 in Muskegon and -14 right now as well in Grand Rapids. You can see not much improvement tonight. In fact, it will get colder tonight. Wednesday morning's commute, probably feeling like a -25 for most of us, which if this does verify, I imagine a lot of schools will be closing once again. Tomorrow, we start the warming trend tomorrow evening, heading into Thursday. Then look at this, by the weekend, finally feeling like the positive teens instead of the negative teens. So we do have somewhat improvement on the way. But for your Tuesday, for today, expect temperatures to still hold in the single digits with the lake effect snow continuing along the lakeshore counties, and then off to the north generally in the single digits, so still very cold. Grand Rapids to the south generally still around 4 or 5 degrees for high temperatures today with that lake effect snow continuing. Your 13 on your side 7-day forecast shows we have that weather impact alert right through Wednesday now, through the rest of the day on Wednesday. Snow gradually ends on Thursday, and then finally 30 degrees once we get to this weekend.
30 degrees.
Colton, I have to know, does the weather bell jingle like live rent free in your head now? Like, do you hear it in your brain?
It lived rent free in my head as a kid.
Oh, see, there you go.
Stop it.
Well,
I love
we
that.
were not laughing at you, by the way. I was laughing at Sam because our mics were off.
Yeah.
And Colton goes, 13 on your side, 7-day forecast.
Do-do-do-do-do.
There you
There
go.
it is.
And she sung it along with the
That's what
with the
goes through
jingle.
my head every time I hear it.
Oh,
It
when you do it on the
naturally
morning show, I go,
cycles through.
and no one sees it.
It is awkward when it's not played, though. That has happened to me. And I was like, I pause, and then just nothing, and I go, anyways.
That's when
yeah.
you just sing it, Colton.
True.
And see, when you're in the mornings, you can do that kind of stuff. Nobody cares. I wouldn't suggest it during the 5 and 6 o'clock evening
Oh,
show.
yeah.
though.
Is it
No,
Mandy in
not
the
doing
booth
that.
right now, the audio booth?
Yeah, Mandy. Is it Mandy back there?
Hey,
Yeah.
Mandy, we love you.
I love Mandy. That's my girl.
No, she's always so nice. I love to talk to her. So we have Aaron Sullivan live in the Weather Chaser right now, tracking your road conditions as we speak. I know we're kind of not in the hot spot of the morning commute right now. You know, people, if they're out, they're already at work, but
They better not be going to TJ Maxx.
I know.
You know, like
Or
TJ
Target.
Maxx runs.
Today
need
is
be
not the
set
day to be a
side
Max
today.
Anista.
Yeah.
sorry. Aaron, what's going on out there on the road and where are you at?
Well, before I tell you what's going on the road, Sam, I actually thought about that today. I wonder if Marshalls and TJ Maxx are like ghost towns right now.
This
but
might
I'll
be
tell
prime
you what,
time for
Well,
us.
remember
roads
they
are not
should
looking
go.
great.
They had people out the door at
I
Target
know.
waiting for that book this morning.
Yes, but listen, I understand. We've been waiting for this book to come out for a while. Okay.
Yeah,
We won't say what Doug called it.
Yeah, no.
yeah, that was crazy. But yeah, we're traveling eastbound on Lake Michigan Drive in Standale. And Doug actually made a good point that these roads are complete sheets of ice, but the snow, here's a pro about the snow, it's helping us have some traction. So even when we are stopping at red lights, we are sliding just slightly, but we're going slow, so it's not a huge deal. But definitely something to keep in mind if you are hitting roads that don't have this nice layer of snow on top. Just be careful. It's probably pretty icy. Visibility is great right now. We were actually just driving through Grand Valley State's campus. Gorgeous, by the way. Very beautiful with the snow. And those roads were the same situation going on here. Lots of snow, just making sure that it's not just your tire and ice and you're sliding everywhere. So, pro to the snow, I'll say that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to remember, did Grand Valley
I know.
close
I
today?
was just trying to look and see if they were closed.
They went
They are
remote.
remote status today.
Oh,
so
We're
give
assuming
them a
yes.
snow day.
I know.
Why do they gotta be remote?
You know, at Ball State, I only had one snow day.
Really?
One snow day, and it was for conditions much like we're experiencing today. You know, snow on the roads, but also very, very cold temperatures. I'm curious, though. It does look like there's a lot of people there on the road with you in Allendale. Aaron, have you been seeing a lot of traffic on the road in that area?
We've been through Jenison, we've been through Allendale, not too much. We're in Standale right now. So I
Standale.
mean,
I'm
it's a
sorry.
little more, the traffic's heavier here. That's okay. Don't worry about it, Tanner. I have to ask Doug every 5 seconds where we are. Everything
Well,
is
I
the
also
same
have
to
Doug's
me here.
location. I could have just looked.
Nope, that's okay. Yeah, I think this is a busier road, so you're going to see more people on Lake Michigan Drive right now. But hopefully this is, the peak of it. I hope people are not out later, especially during rush hour. I mean, it was scary this morning, so fingers crossed. People are going home early,
Absolutely. Well, stay safe out there. Director Rory did give us an update that GRCC is closed, so save money and you don't have to virtually work.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
I also
Go
want
there.
to say, was I reading an update that Calvin was also closed today? I think I want to say that that's correct too.
Yeah, or delay start or something. We did get an email about it.
I'm looking that up right now.
But well warranted, right? Because
Yeah.
when you have these cold temperatures and the snow that's on the ground, the combination of the two really dangerous. And we all know those college kids, they're walking on campus.
Yeah.
They're walking from class to class, from dorms to their class, all the things, and it can get really dangerous really fast.
Calvin is closed today. All
Okay,
daytime
good.
classes, events, except January series canceled today.
Wow, and then look at Muskegon, completely coated in snowfall. Tanner, we've got our 13 weather impact alert today. We have it again tomorrow.
So that's my question. Are we going to see that extended into Thursday, or how do you make that determination whether we're going to see another bar of red on the 7-day forecast?
Yeah, and so if you don't know about our 13 weather impact alert initiative, it's basically just to give you the heads up if there is going to be inconvenient or, of course, impactful weather. Obviously, the weather we're dealing with right now falls into the impactful weather. But we even, of course, issue these sometimes for just inconvenient things like morning fog. That's not necessarily going to impact your entire day, but it certainly will inconvenience a certain amount of time. Now, when it comes to whether or not we extend it into Thursday, that's really going to come from when that lake effect snow is expected to shut off. I like to look at about 48-hour forecasts for lake effect snow. Once you try to get past that, it's kind of a guessing game. I can see that those winds are turning back northwest. I can see that our temperatures are again at 12 degrees. Those two things, the combination of them could be enough to keep that lake effect snow going, at least for the first half of Thursday. And then we've got, of course, the impacts of just the snow on the ground deteriorating the morning commute. So yeah, there's certainly a chance that we extend it through the first half of Thursday. But with it being lake effect, that is what kind of slows me down in terms of pulling the trigger early. Now, if there was a big system snow headed our way 5-7 days out, we would issue it.
Yeah.
With this cold
'Cause you
air
know
mass.
it's coming.
We know it's coming.
Yeah.
But lake effect snow has so much finesse to it. You really need to see those high resolution models. You really need to see the temperature contrast between the lake and the upper levels and all of these different things, and the thermodynamic setup. There's just so much that goes into it that we can't look at when we get to a certain point.
I think it's important for you all to know that Sam, Colton, Amber, Blake, they look at this and they make this determination
Together, too.
not to keep people afraid,
Oh,
but
yes.
more so to let you know this is just a hey, put this on your radar.
Yes.
And that's all it is we're just trying to let you know, give you the heads up that things are going to be a little impactful for you. And sometimes we don't issue the impact alerts for days where we just have like 1 to 2 inches. It's not going to be an impact because like we live in Michigan, right?
Especially if it's in the areas that are so used to it. If Ottawa County and Allegan County were getting 1 to 2 inches of snow, I would almost not even want to talk about it at this point because that feels like at least once every half day that occurs for you guys at this time. But the other thing is that us as a team, Amber, Colton, Blake, I all are texting all of the time. We are emailing each other.
How's that group chat?
Our group chat is always blowing up on days like this because we want to make sure we're all, first of all, on the same page. We want to agree with each other on it. And honestly, there's very rare situations where we're like, no, I don't think we need that. Like, we're usually all pretty much in agreement in terms of when the impacts are going to be, which is awesome. And it's helpful to have such a great team that's always constantly. I don't think Colton takes days off. I every single time I'm like,
I think
I'm
I
pretty
might
sure
take a
it's your week.
Saturday off this coming month.
Okay, there we go. Oh,
Take a
he's
Saturday.
informing me of his PTO right now,
Yeah.
everybody.
Hey, that was a PTO request. Did you put that in the system?
I'm going to
Not
need you to
yet.
formally
It's
submit that,
It's kind
okay?
of weather dependent, so maybe.
I think he's earned it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you all have, especially after the 5 days that we've had today or this week covering the winter storm or the winter can't call it a, can I call it a storm?
Sure.
Okay,
you
it's a
can call
storm.
it whatever you
Well,
want.
it's
I'm
not
the
a
one that has to be
system.
right
That's,
about it.
that's the point, right? It's not a system.
It's not a system. It's lake effect, but it's awful out. It's winter awfulness.
I don't know. This all looks all the same to me. It's just
Yeah.
snow. This is Grand
What did
Haven.
Dave call it? The dog days of winter? I don't know if that's a thing.
winter.
You know, I liked what he put this earlier this morning. He goes, in July, you guys are going to remember this when you say you want winter or cooler temperatures. And I totally agree. I
Yeah.
think it looks pretty, but I'm also inside.
Oh, cool
where is
shot there.
this?
That's at the
At the
airport right
airport.
now. And look at, you can see that lake effect. Oh my gosh, this is
Wow.
so beautiful. You can see the lake effect cloud going across the map, but look at the top of the screen, blue skies.
I know.
That is how these bands move, right? And that is why if you are at home and you are like, I have seen nothing, I have seen no snowfall, you are in the in-between of the bands, and that truly can happen to where you see next to nothing in terms of snowfall because you get placed right in between those lake effect bands.
If you're curious, only 2 delays I'm seeing right now at the airport.
'cause they're awesome.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
are. They
they
do
know
a
what they're
really
doing. Yeah.
good job out there.
Yeah, it's really impressive always to me that they're able to do that.
So we're coming up on the last minute of our stream. Both to our meteorologists, any last things you want to say about today's weather event that we're seeing and what to look out for the future?
57 days till spring. That's the first thing. And 24 hours left of cold and 48 hours left of snow. We can do it.
We can do it. Colton?
Yes. Honestly, yeah, I like winter, but knowing that spring is coming, I'm honestly kind of sick of winter now.
We're so excited for
Absolutely.
like tulip time in Holland.
Yeah.
We're so excited just
That's
to
the best
see the
part of
sunshine.
Michigan. is
Yeah.
We get all 4 seasons, which means we get to appreciate them all differently.
We get to appreciate
sure.
them. Remember, warm beach days are ahead for us.
Yeah.
You know, just a lot of fun, warm things to look forward to.
And stay safe. We've
Yeah.
got our first responders. We've got our people that have to be out on the roads right now.
Yeah.
Non-negotiables for them. But for you all at home, save the Target runs for Friday.
All right, we got about 5 seconds. Join Colton on our noon show a little bit
Yes.
later today. Have a great one.